aim to get the floorboards off with as little damage as possible, so I've gone and made myself a little tool. Pretty simple, just some leftover pieces of the pallet, and it makes for a huge spanner across the board. You can pry it off nice and gently, you're not going to bruise the timber. It saves a lot of damage. Best I can, I've been trying to avoid damaging the boards, but they do become brittle over time, very, very dry. And often they tend to snap off in the corner there where the nail is. So I'll be gluing these back on as I go, because by the time you damage 5 or 6 or 10, whatever it is along the way, all the bits get a bit muddled up. Let's take a good look around the chassis and see what damage time has done over the last 73 years. Pretty obvious, there's a few bits missing, but we'll look at it a little bit closer. Clearly an entire drawbar missing. It's not that unusual for these older Caravans to either have a very weak drawbar or be pretty rusted out, especially ones with brake lines running up inside them. So if you're purchasing a really old Caravan and you think the drawbar's mint, think again, probably not. I would stick a camera up there to inspect it to make sure it's pretty good. So, chunk of the ladder, what we call the ladder. This bit, it's a structural support, that's missing. The rest of it is not horrendous. It needs some work around the leaf springs, possibly some new ones. We'll take a look at that. We'll be doing the wheel bearings. I'll show you how to spec those up. The back end is pretty good, but the stabilizers are completely gone. So we'll find some new ones of those. And what you find in the old days, when you look at the axle, they've actually joined a couple of bits of 50x50 angle together and welded it. That was because either A, steel was hard to get a hold of, B, steel was expensive, and so they used to do that on a regular basis. And that is what the drawbar would have been as well. So at the moment you can see some angle left, but at the front it would have been welded together to make a box section. So I'll replace the entire thing with 50x50 box. I'll take a few quick measurements so that we know what steel we need, get that organised before we start, before we get the grinder out and start chopping off the bits that are shot. Fabricators will know, instead of having to draw an imaginary line, I've just added a couple of bits of wood, then we can measure up exactly what's needed for our drawbar. It just so happens they're 3 meters each, which is good because they come in 6 meter lengths. I'm going to prepare to pull the hubs off. We'll be able to get to the wheel bearings, have a look and see what numbers they are to identify them. And normally in these hubs, there's normally a pin, what we call a split pin, normally goes through this castellated nut. It stops the nut from unwinding, but at some point in time it's probably rusted out and completely disappeared. So we don't have to try and get that out. Normally you would. We'll just pull this off. Hopefully it will budge. Oh, look at that, nice and easy. If it had any kind of maintenance over the years, it would have had grease on it, so it's not normally too bad. Hopefully this hub will just tap off. Beautiful. And then what you'll see is a number on the front of that bearing, and there's another one at the back bearing. Those are the two numbers you need, along with the seal that's at the back of the hub. They come as a kit. So we'll be able to pop down to Seiko and buy ourselves a brand new wheel bearing kit. It's always a good idea to wind the nut back on the end of the axle. That helps protect the threads. It stops getting smacked about when you're moving it. Clamping bolts for the leaf springs have definitely seen better days. You're getting new ones of those. So another thing to watch out for. Make sure the threads are in good condition if you're checking these things out. Now what we'll do is we'll cut the front bar off the frame, all the drawbar and the ladder work underneath, get the axle out, and then we can start cleaning up with a wire brush. Very basic frame now. All the ladder work's off. It's not worth keeping for the price of the steel, probably $60 worth of steel to replace all that, and it was pretty bent and buckled, so the rest of the frame's not too bad, although a little bit thin at the front of the chassis. So what I'm going to do is mark and cut a scarf joint so that I can join a new piece of rail, and we'll make sure that it's nice and strong when it's in. So a bit of tidy up work now. Chassis stripped and prepped. The old welds are ground down so they're flush, so we've got a good place to start. Now we want to strip all the old rust off, so we're going to use this bad boy. It's a twisted wire brush, pretty meaty. Do make sure you've got all the safety stuff. You don't want to get attacked by this thing. That is one job I'm glad I don't do every day. That's a mission and a half. No matter what you do, breathing, you know, you're caked in it. But it is what it is. Otherwise it's about $500 to get it sandblasted. So that's the alternative. Halfway through, I've just flipped it over. The good old wire wheels, still going strong, plenty of life left in it. I paid $18 something from Mitre 10, so these are well worth the money. completely stripped. This is basically a bare frame that is stripped out, as you can hear. So now we're going to put a layer of rust converter. Right, probably 2 coats of this. I've been using CRC for years, it's great. The one thing it does say, and you have to make sure, is that it converts rust to a tough black primer in 1 step. You'll see it change colour over time. So there does have to be a little bit of rust on there for it to work.